All right, welcome to our first night of taking notes for Algebra 2. We're going to be looking at 4-3 factoring polynomials. This is a concept that you covered in Algebra 1, but it's been a while, so we're going to go ahead and review before we start solving the polynomials. So you're going to need your interactive notebook, the half sheet of paper that says factoring polynomials when at the top. If you don't have it, you are welcome to print out a copy from My Big Campus, or just go ahead and take notes, writing down everything that you see in the video. Alright, so here we go. So first you're going to have your spiral notebook, and since this is the first day of taking notes, we'll go ahead and talk about how we want to do this. So we always will take notes here in our spiral notebook, and we're always going to take notes from home on the left hand side. So at the top you're going to write 4-3 factoring polynomials. And I only have a part of the paper here showing, but you would of course be able to write all the way over to the left hand side. And this right side over here, we're going to use this for in class. So this part over here will be used for in class. And then you can either tape in or glue in the sheet that we have, or you can just write everything down on this side. If you don't like to glue the pieces of paper in, you don't have to. You just write down a little bit more than somebody that does glue it in. And I would suggest that you not glue it in until after you're done writing on it. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. Again, we're writing on the left-hand side of our notebook. We're leaving that right-hand side blank so we can use that tomorrow in class. Our paper ready. Looks like this, and again, if you don't have your sheet, then you're going to go ahead and pause the video to write down factoring polynomials when, and then the rest of us will go ahead and start writing this in. So first, we're going to write in the top line, we're going to follow the 5 steps below when 1, the degree is 2. And this is known as a quadratic. Okay? And we're going to follow the 5 steps below when the number of terms is 3. So when we have a trinomial. Again, this is known as a trinomial. All right, and then also the third requirement is that the leading coefficient is 1. Remember, the leading coefficient is the number in front of x squared. All right, so just to kind of rehash what we were just talking about, the first thing is that the degree has to be 2, and that's the degree, so that part's been met. The second thing is that there needs to be 3 terms, so 1, 2, 3. That part has been met. And then the last thing is that the leading coefficient has to be 1. So when those 3 things happen, then we're going to follow these next 5 steps. This x over here is going to be just a method that we can use to help us organize the data or the information here to help us factor correctly. All right, so let's continue on. All right, so we're going to look at the steps to factor once those 3 conditions are met. So the first thing, if you notice, we do have a degree of 2, we do have 3 terms, and we do have a leading coefficient that is 1. So those 3 conditions have been met, so then these are the steps that we're going to use to factor the polynomial. So first we're going to go ahead and make the parentheses. So we make 2 sets of parentheses, and we can go ahead and put x and x, whatever letter is in the polynomial. This one is x squared, so we're going to use x and x. And then we're going to fill in what we're going to call as the x puzzle. Basically, it's just a way to organize the information. We're going to put C on top, and we're going to put B on bottom. So whatever letter is in C's place will go on top of the x, and whatever number is in B's place will go on the bottom of the x. All right, so then we want to ask ourselves, what will the signs be? I actually usually do this last, but the steps always have it after you do the X puzzle. So if we look at this last sign, and it says plus. So that tells us that they're both either going to be positive or they're both going to be negative. And if that sign, if this plus sign was a minus sign, then that would tell us that they both are going to be different. So in this case, it's a positive, which means that they're going to be the same. And then we look here, which tells us that they're both positive. So we know that the signs that are going to be in the parentheses are both going to be positive. So now the next step is to solve the X puzzle. Solve the X puzzle just means find the numbers that work. So we ask ourselves, what two numbers multiply to make C? And normally it'll be a number. And then what two numbers add to make B? So they multiply to make C and add to make B. So that's what it talk about in the X puzzle. And we would put those two numbers on the sides of the X. And in this case, they're two positive numbers. And the last step is just to check our work. So we're going to FOIL out what's in the parentheses to check our work. Okay? So let's look at an example. So we're going to factor x squared plus 4x plus 3. So again, start with our first step, which is to make the parentheses, put the x's in, make the X puzzle. 3 is in C's place, 4 is in B's place. We look for our signs. We know that they're both going to be the same and they're both going to be positive. All right, then we're going to go ahead and solve the puzzle. So what two numbers multiply to make 3 and add to make 4? 3 is a prime number, so we only have one option, 1 and 3. So we're going to have a positive 1 and a positive 3. And if we multiply those, we get 3, and if we add them, we get 4. So they definitely are the right numbers. It doesn't matter if you put x plus 3 or x plus 1, because multiplication is commutative. We can change the order and still get the same answer. Alright, so now we can check our work. So when we check our work, we're going to FOIL. So the F in FOIL means first. So we're going to multiply the first two terms to get x squared. O in FOIL means outside. So we're going to multiply the x and the 3. The I in FOIL means inside, so the 1 and the x. And the L in FOIL means the two last terms. Combine like terms. And you can see we got exactly what we started with, which means we have the right answer. So tomorrow we'll do some activities in class to reinforce that concept. And I will see you tomorrow.